That, just as much as whether or not President Uhuru Kenyatta is still the president, whether or not he has full powers, is part of a conversation that has been had in the country. And even legal minds cannot agree on some of these issues. So let's have a conversation in studio. We have Caleb Kositani, he's a Member of Parliament, Soy. Mheshimiwa, thank you so much for joining us on News Center. This is the first time I'm hosting you on News Center, right?
Yes, first time.
Okay, good. Thank you for joining us on News Center. So right next to him, we have Silvanus Osoro, Member of Parliament, Mugirango South. Gentlemen, thank you for joining us on News Center. So, Mheshimiwa Kositani, let me begin with you. Do you think there will be a constitutional crisis? Let me just pick up from where Wamalwa has left it, the CS. Do you think there will be a constitutional crisis if the country does not vote within the stipulated 60 days?
I don't think our constitution provides for any constitutional crisis. I think it's very clear, Article 142, the president will be the president until another president is elected and sworn in. So the August 8th election was annulled by the Supreme Court, though we don't agree with it, but we have to live with it. So that election did not happen. So we're waiting for the 26th. After that, whoever wins, and we know it will be Uhuru Kenyatta, then we will have he will have him sworn in as president, and Kenya moves on. But there is no provision whatsoever in the Constitution for any gap or any lacuna for anybody else to come with a caretaker government or anything. I think the Constitution is quite clear on that.
No, I think there will be a constitutional crisis if elections are not held within 60 days. And I think Mheshimiwa also knows that, I mean, we shouldn't be reading Article 142 selectively. It's so clear that the president will be the president until the new president is sworn in, accordance to Article 136. So you can't actually read only 142 and just stop there. You need to go and read other laws, 140, 136, and 146, and conjoin them and understand what really they say. And when you read them, you'll understand that elections are supposed to be held within 60 days in case of a nullity of an election by the Supreme Court. So if the Supreme Court nullifies election, and then the Constitution that provides for 60 days, that the election should be held within 60 days, if that one does not happen, then we do not have a president, because who is to be sworn in? You can't be holding the office, yet we do not have a president. I mean, you haven't gone to elections to be sworn in.
I want to refer you to something.
So what will happen is very simple. That if the elections are not held by 1st of November,
yes,
then the Speaker of the National Assembly will take care of the government on a caretaker position, as we wait for the... Because that very constitution defines that the term of the presidency is 2 terms. Okay. So what happens beyond 2 terms?
So I listened to Attorney General Githu Muigai, and he said until a fresh government is sworn in, the government in office remains in office with the full force. 1. 2, he went ahead to say if elections are not held within the stipulated time, there will be no crisis. Even in the unlikely event that the election is not held on the 60th day, that does not delegitimize the constitutional order of the day.
No, it's very unfortunate that the learned Attorney General is opting to read these things selectively, as I said earlier, that we need to define the term of the president. It's 5-year term. That your term expires upon the lapse of the 5-year period. In this regard, it has expired based on the election that we had and the cancellation of the election results by the Supreme Court. Then the Constitution provides for 60-day period of organizing any other election so that another new president can be sworn in. So in the event that these elections are not held within 60 days, then there's a lacuna. Then it's so clear that the term, we will not be having a president then. Uhuru Kenyatta will not be the president.
I think Silvano,
that should be the discussion, actually.
I think Silvano is the one who is reading the Constitution selectively. And off the cuff, he's just mentioned what we will not mention on air. So we know where he's coming from. But the Constitution is clear, quite clear. The president serves his term until another president is sworn in. I don't know how you can now change that to say, oh, within 60 days and all. Well, within 60 days we must have, and we have the election within 60 days, 26th of October. NASA, of course, is trying to play all the games so that they push it towards November, or really they are not ready for the election, so they're trying to play all these monkey games. But as Jubilee, as government in charge, the elections shall be held on the 26th. We were ready for 17th, but because of ABCD, it has been postponed. We will live with that. We will go on, and we are ready for the 26th. We want to tell NASA to be ready to face Uhuru Kenyatta and William Ruto on the 26th, and we are ready for battle. We are ready for a peaceful election. And what we want to call on NASA to do is, even as they hold their demonstration tomorrow, they've held demonstrations before. None of them has ever been peaceful. Very few, I think maybe one or two. But we want to call on them that the nation comes first. They should hold a peaceful demonstration tomorrow. We shall, as government, we shall offer police protection. But any attempt to break the law, they shall meet the full force. Yes, we are government. We are running the government.
Listen, so with respect to the demands that NASA has been making, there are several Jubilee leaders who say NASA is making all these demands because A, you're not ready for an election, you do not even want this election in the first place, and you're trying to get a quote-unquote Nusum Kate government. Please explain to me why NASA is coming up with so many demands, basically making demands on an independent institution.
In any case, actually, the person who needs Nusumukate here is His Excellency the President Uhuru Kenyatta. And NASA does not want Nusumukate. We've been there before. We do not want to hear such things. Because he's actually more scared of an election than any other person. It's on record. He's been telling Kenyans that we need to get those ballot boxes, brought to Nyayo Stadium. We open them and count. He's so scared of an election. And for us, it's very clear. Besides the date being set, we should actually be very open. An hyena cannot, be sent to take care of sheep. You can't send an hyena for, to take care of the goats, whatever. So it's so clear. We are questioning the character. The character of Chiloba is in question here. That somebody must take responsibility. You see, being a referee, you must be non-partisan, and you must have shown that you're non-partisan in the previous, elections. So clearly here, NASA is only saying, and it's so simple, irreducible minimum. We do not want Chiloba and his team to govern elections. And in any case, if truly you won elections, like President Uhuru claims that he won elections, why should you be scared of any person who will govern elections, of any person who will be in charge of that? All we are saying that Chiloba should go home.
But let me ask you, does it even matter to you that the Supreme Court said it found systemic institutional problems but no evidence of criminal intent or wrongdoing by the commissioners and the Secretariat staff?
The question before court was not to find any person criminally liable. The prayers made by the petitioners, one of them wasn't actually to find any person criminally liable. The question before court was whether the election was free and fair. That wasn't a criminal court. It's a court that was for the purposes of finding, the election results on how they went and everything. However, they used wisdom. What learned judges do in any case is to use wisdom and define the law. In this particular case, the learned judges felt that if they start again throwing, probably holding any person liable criminally, then they could have probably, affected the whole system and, they could have engaged themselves in politics.
Okay.
So what they decided to do is to use wisdom and go mute on that.
Okay.
And they went mute, but that really does not mean that somebody is not responsible. It is a person who was handling that computer. There is a person who was in charge of that server. There is a person who was in charge of those ballot boxes. So we can't just keep quiet.
I think Silvano, I think you're missing the point here. The reason why we go for elections is so that we get the person. Election in Kenya is about who has the most votes. That is the person declared the winner. From the way Silvano is talking, it actually confirms what we as Jubilee read, is that the final judgment by the Supreme Court, the detailed judgment, did not go the NASA way. Either some things were removed. What NASA was expecting is the Supreme Court to say, yes, there was a problem here, and we blame so and so, and now go for elections, so that they have ammunition to try and run if it is Kositani who has been blamed, or if Silvano, or if it's you or Gutu or anybody. But it didn't go their way. So they are now reinventing, they're coming up with a new story to reinvent the wheel, to try and say, okay, fine, we still insist that Chiloba must go. I saw Babu Owino yesterday even saying now even Chibukati must go. But honestly, we had elections in 2007 where I was in ODM. We campaigned very heavily for Raila Odinga. We lost that election. Raila Odinga said, Kivuitu must go. Kivuitu went. May his soul rest in peace. We had an election in 2013. This time we were in URP and supporting President Uhuru Kenyatta. Raila lost. He says Hassan and his team must go. They went. We had an election in 2017, August 8th. Raila lost. Now he's saying this IEBC must go. I mean, honestly, is it always about Raila winning? I mean, does Raila want to win from the streets? He has to garner the majority votes, and there is no way he's going to win this election. Let us have an election. Let us stop interfering with the independent commission. Let us respect the constitution. IEBC is there as per the constitution. They're an independent commission. Let them do their work.
Mheshimiwa, so you think they're interfering with the independence of the commission? You don't think they have genuine concerns?
It's not think. They are interfering. They don't have any genuine concerns.
They don't have genuine concerns.
Listen, they claim there was hacking. The Supreme Court says there was no proof of hacking. Whenever you challenge an election, my understanding, and I think it's just the general understanding, you need to challenge the results. If there was any anomaly, did it affect the final tally of the votes?
Yes, it did.
It did not affect.
It did.
There is nowhere where they said so-and-so, maybe with Raila, 1 million votes that were meant for Raila are missing. Nothing. They talked of 29.
Did it affect?
Yes, it did.
Where?
Raila Odinga got 8.4 million votes.
Where are you getting your figures from?
Exactly. We had our agents in every polling station. Raila Odinga got 8.4 million votes, and Uhuru Kenyatta got 6 million votes. This election was stolen through the server, and we shouldn't miss words. We should be so straight.
So why did the Supreme Court miss that evidence? You didn't present it in court.
Because that wasn't the question. The question was about the process of the election. The question wasn't about the numbers. And I think I also need to tell him that, Mheshimiwa, that irregularities and illegalities are both causes to an electionality. So when we have irregularities like we had in the presidential elections, I mean, the Supreme Court in its wisdom decided
that do not affect the final tally.
But the learned judges found them culpable. I mean, they found it fit to nullify the elections. And you know, when you say that we respect the independence of your institutions, that is a double speak from the Jubilee side. You are not even respecting the Supreme Court. You're calling our Supreme Court judges names. In 2013, it was on record. You know, we need to see who is a true statesman in this country. In 2013, when Raila Odinga went to court and the outcome did not favor him, he came out, made us, and I remember very well, and actually you are the one who was announcing those results.
I remember.
Was here, and he came out and said so clearly that I do not accept to the Supreme Court, but I do not accept their decision, but I respect what they've said. And he went home and he wished President Uhuru Kenyatta all the best. That's a statement. But now look, immediately after the Supreme Court ruling, actually right before the Supreme Court ruling, Uhuru Kenyatta is on record telling Raila Odinga to go to court. I mean, I was even here personally, I said, okay, fine, let Raila Odinga go to court. And now the outcome is out. You're calling our judges all names. You're telling them that you revisit everything after elections. You're telling those people that they were Wakora. You're even calling them names. You're describing them by their looks. You know, it is too wrong. And that is doublespeak, that everything must go the Jubilee way. So for them to relax.
Must everything go the Jubilee way?
No, not everything must go the Jubilee way. What we want as Jubilee is we want an election on 26th. We want to prove our case.
At the end of the day, all you want is just an election.
Forget about all these shenanigans, all these monkey tricks here. Let's just forget about them. We won the elections on August 8th.
These guys are not ready.
They
are not ready for the election on 26th.
How do you know they're not ready for an election?
No, they've been saying all over that they want those ballot boxes to be counted, to be opened and counted.
Does that mean they've
even gone to court. They want to file something in court for review, for judicial review of the ruling. I mean, seriously, who is not ready and who is ready here? And what we are saying here, we are challenging the commissions. We are challenging
Silvano. Yes. When you look at the ruling by the judges, the detailed ruling by the judges of the Supreme Court, I have read through some of it. Maybe you will say I'm biased or anything, but I find that Justice Ojwang and Joaquin Dungu did their work very well.
Okay.
I think they gave a very detailed, and they gave a reason for every, for their ruling. They gave a reason. They backed it up, and with evidence. The other 4 judges, I'm sorry to say, just gave kind of a blanket ruling. It was like
no. I think you see that is what I'm saying. That is what I'm saying.
Go and read it. Go and read it.
I've read it. I've read it fully.
But go and read it, and don't read it with an ODM mind or a NASA mind. Read it as Silvano Wakili, so that you read it fairly. But I think all that is behind us. That has happened. That is milk that has spilled. It cannot be. Let us now focus on August 20th. Are we ready? We as Jubilee, we are ready.
No,
we are ready for the election.
You people respect numbers, like you claim.
Yes, we respect numbers.
If you truly respect numbers, then respect the numbers that decided. The 4 numbers in the Supreme Court that decided that the Supreme Court, I mean, the election wasn't conducted according to the
Then you should also respect that we won by 1.5 million votes, and this time we're going to win by about maybe 2 to 3 million votes.
I can tell you that in a free and fair election, Uhuru Kenyatta cannot beat Raila Odinga. Trust me, we can't.
Okay.
We will meet with you in this studio on the 27th or 28th of October.
And then we'll decide who
Then
exactly
we'll decide
has won
who
this
won.
thing and who has not.
If it will be free,
Yeah.
if it will be free
Yeah.
completely, then Raila
August
Odinga
8th
will
was
win.
free, and this election also.
Who
26th will
winning?
be free.
Trust me, it will be assured that it wasn't free. We'll still go to court, and Maraga said it's still there. Trust me,
So
it's
both
still
of you,
there. It's the very
you're
same
insisting
Maraga.
Jubilee are not ready. Jubilee are saying you guys are not ready.
Jubilee
for
is
this
not
election.
ready for an election. Look at there. You know, words.
Why would
Action
you say Jubilee is not ready?
Action speaks louder than what. Why are you going
What
back
actions?
to court for judicial review? Why? I mean, why should you do that?
Okay,
For what
can we say
purposes?
it's the same of NASA? You went to court 47 times before the election, before August 8th. Were you,
You know,
were
this
you not
thing-
ready?
This thing is not about Raila Odinga, and I want you guys to know that. This thing is about us, the future of this country. That you need our institutions to be independent. We need our institutions to be clean. We need that next time when you vie for presidency, you will not be stolen. Your votes will not be stolen, in favor of any person. So we shouldn't be looking at this thing about Uhuru Kenyatta or Raila Odinga. I want to be president in 2032. But trust me, with this kind of nature, I will not make it. And that is why I
Come
have
to
to
Jubilee.
fight. And that is
You'll
why
have your
tomorrow
chance
I'll
in
be there.
Jubilee.
No, you see, the problem with Jubilee is that they are
That's where
telling
the
us come
numbers
to
are.
Jubilee.
That's where the
Not
numbers
about
are.
numbers. You want
It's
us to
about
come to
numbers.
that place because that is the only place that you clap for the leaders even in the mess. We can't do that.
That's where the numbers are, and the election is about numbers.
Okay, so there's all this back and forth about the election and who is going to win and who is ready and who is not, and NASA giving irreducible minimums. Let's listen into what some of the leaders have had to say with respect to just how prepared the country is and some of the arguments they're putting across.
Iko kazi ya muhimu ya kufanyika. Usituambie ya kwamba tuwe katika njia nyingine ama barabara nyingine ya kutengeneza uchaguzi kwa mwaka moja. Sasa hakuna time ya kupoteza Kenya hii, ati tunakungojea wewe, ati unasema hakuna uchaguzi. Kwani sasa hii dunia imekuwa yako peke yako, my friend? Sisi wengine tumekuwa wakimbizi ama tumekuwa sasa ni watalii ama sisi ni wakimbizi. If you believe in the Constitution of Kenya, you must be prepared to use constitutional means to look for what you are looking for. And there are only two options. Either you pull out from the election or you prepare yourself for the elections on the 26th of October so that Kenyans can make a choice.
Deputy President William Ruto, you must be prepared to use constitutional means, either pull out or prepare to take part in the election. So, Mheshimiwa, I think he's referring to the attempts by NASA to, quote-unquote, evict IEBC officials that you're uncomfortable with, and as a matter of fact, we have called for mass action tomorrow. Is there a different way of dealing with this, apart from mass action?
There ought to have been a different way if the top players could lower their pride, both of them, both the Jubilee side and, NASA, and sit down and discuss on a round table and settle that amicably. But now the pride that we are seeing from both political divides will, of course, affect Mwananchi. And this is a country that we've seen before that things only happen when you push things. And the only way you can push things is under Article 38 of the Constitution, go to the street and picket. And people will listen. And that is what we did last time when Isaac Hassan was going home. And this is the thing that we'll do again from tomorrow. And this time around, we're not really focused on the commission, like you had said earlier. We're not focused on the commission. We are focused on the secretariat. The people now who handle, out of the memo, if you see, you saw the secret memo that was circulating all over, you could see that the most blame goes to the secretariat. And we are really focusing on the CEO. And actually, if that gentleman was a statesman, like he ought to be, I mean, this is the right time to resign and just go home.
Until proven guilty.
You see, we are not really charging him like, now you are guilty or whatever, now you must go. Really. I mean, it's about you being accused of being, being partisan. When you're in such a position and somebody accuses you, clearly, I mean, and you're a referee, you need to get out.
If the accuser is
what
used
if
to
you-
accusing people when he loses,
Jubilee
then you
defending
don't
him
take
so
him
much?
seriously.
You see, the mere fact that Jubilee is really defending him makes us even get scared more.
We are defending because we believe he's innocent until proven guilty.
Because
And
you
we're also
believe,
defending-
you
we're also
believe
defending
he
him.
played some game in the
We're
summer.
also defending him because we are dealing with somebody whose habit it has become. Whenever he loses an election, so-and-so must go. Whenever he loses, so-and-so. I mean, now he's focusing on Chiloba. Tomorrow when he loses, if Chiloba supposedly leaves today and another CEO is appointed and Raila will, as he will lose on 26, he will now say,
Now look here.
I mean,
Let me tell you. If Raila Odinga loses this election or any other election, in a free and fair manner. He's a statesman, and he's known all over. He'll come out and tell, yes, he said last time in 2013, he wished the president well. But look at what President Uhuru said, that if Raila wins, they'll use parliament, their numbers, to make sure that they oust him, to impeach him. How do you even do that? How do you even say that? You're already scared that you're going to lose. Now you want to use the numbers to have him out.
What the president was saying,
he doesn't even follow. He could not even read the law and understand the process of impeaching the president.
What the president was saying is that we as Jubilee, and this is in black and white, we have 47 governors in this country. Jubilee has 29. That is a majority. We have 1,400 and something MCAs. Jubilee has 800 elected. That is a majority. We have 349 members in parliament. Well, we are 200 and something. Jubilee has about 170.
No.
We have women
170. It's not
we have majority in all elective positions. We have a majority.
That is not debatable.
How?
So you take pride in that. You take pride in that, and then you threaten. You take pride in that. Then you threaten that the incoming president will be impeached if he's. How do you even do that?
That is why they say the majority will have their way.
Impeaching?
The minority will have their say. You have had your say.
Let me tell you, we are living in a country that we really need to be very careful. Both of us, both the NASA and the Jubilee. This is our country.
Everyone, actually.
Exactly. This thing of chest thumping every now and then because, we come from bigger tribes or we come from bigger numbers and stuff like that should stop. This is the thing that is dividing us deeper and deeper. But
Mheshimiwa, let me ask you.
People like us who come from the minority, how will we make it eventually?
You will make it.
How? We are defending that. And it's
no, you've not answered what I've asked you. Is there a different way to handling the secretariat, as you put it, as opposed to mass action?
Yes, there is.
So why don't... okay.
Has that been exhausted before mass action?
But you've seen the deputy president's speech here. You've even seen the addresses his supporters.
Okay,
what you're saying is it can only be done through dialogue, brought forth by two parties. And here we are blaming any other channel, the stakeholders like the religious leaders, the media. This is the time that we need to join these people and sit down. If they're not able to swallow their pride and sit down, then the only way. And this is a country that things only happen through mass action.
Listen, Mheshimiwa, let's be fair here. So NASA just gave its demand to IEBC, the irreducible minimums. And like Mheshimiwa is asking, have you exhausted all avenues before you get to mass action?
Yes, letters were done. This is even very sad, and it should go on record, that one time a meeting was organized by IEBC to meet the NASA principals, and they went. But they were kept at the reception for 3 hours, only for the deputy president to walk in with his team and discuss with Chebukati. Then Raila Odinga was told to go and come the following day. Then later a letter was sent to request him to come for the meeting. We need to find out the history. Raila is being mistreated in this country, and we need to be very careful about that. And we must speak the truth here, that if you really... what we are portraying outside the public is that he is a person who is making demands. But you are forgetting that this is a very same gentleman who is really being frustrated by our systems all over. Very much frustrated. If the Chief Justice can say, he can call a press conference and say he's being frustrated by the Inspector General of Police, who is Raila, who is an opposition leader?
But the Inspector General, to be fair, the Inspector General actually responded to that the same day.
Of course, with the defense mechanism, which is so obvious.
Well,
when my colleague here really tries to talk very positive about Raila Odinga, I don't think I can do the same, though I voted for him in 2007. But one thing I must say, and I always say this whenever I get an opportunity to be in the studio, I voted no for the Constitution.
Okay.
And I'm very proud I voted no. Biggest problem we have in this Kenya is this Constitution that we passed. We passed it in a hurry. We didn't look at it properly. And now we are in a crisis, after crisis. And we'll have to do something about it. Time will come when we really have to do something about this Constitution. But that having said that, this issue of demands and mass action should stop. People should follow the laid down channels. We gave in when Raila and his troops went to mass action for Ahmed Nasir group to go in. We had a discussion. It was expensive for the country. Imagine paying people to leave office and they have done no criminal. Their only crime was to declare Uhuru the winner and Raila the loser. That was their only crime. They didn't do anything wrong. But he said they must go. We cannot go into an election with them. We've gone into another election and he has lost. Now he's saying Chiloba must go. Really? Chiloba is one vote. There are 8.2 million people who voted for Uhuru. And Raila got 7 million votes.
Why,
I mean, really?
why the defense for Chiloba? Truly, if this gentleman is not partisan, this is a referee.
This is a Kenyan who has been given a job. He is a referee and he has done his job. And he has not been found guilty by anybody.
No, one of the players feels uncomfortable with this referee. I mean, it's common sense that let these two players come together and ask each other, okay, fine, whom do you want? I mean, together, because it's about him being a referee in a game that has already been accused.
Based on what law?
So, in other words, you're looking for consultation between NASA, Jubilee, and the IEBC.
Personally,
he's actually looking for consultation.
Because we want peace. We are personally, and I think that is my personal opinion, we all want peace. But if you go this direction...
I like the way you're saying your personal opinion is peace, yes. But your party, they're not for peace.
Even my party is for peace. NASA is for peace, trust me.
Stick to your personal opinion.
That is what you've been saying.
Stick to your personal opinion.
My personal opinion is that these two gentlemen should sit down and talk. If they're not ready to sit down and talk, then every person, will go their way. And at the end of it all, look, we've even lost Chan. The Chan was...
And I'm having a conversation about it in a couple of minutes.
Because of this politics. I mean, who is going to get affected? Kenyans. Why? Because we are all inclined to our tribal things, and we do not want to...
Jubilee, we are not tribal, by the way.
You're very tribal. You are the most tribal people that I've ever known on earth.
Jubilee got seats. In any elective seats, we got seats in 43 out of 47 counties.
You're talking about
44 out of 47. We missed only in 3 counties.
I wanted to look
in the
at
Republic
the
of Kenya.
setup of the government.
No, I mean, listen.
And the way even
how do you find a party that has gone beyond tribalism and has managed to galvanize the whole of Kenya into one?
We could have...
yes, but how many counties are you not in
all over.
represented?
We're actually all over.
Okay, Mheshimiwa, I'll pose a direct question to you. As is currently constituted, with everything going round, is Jubilee comfortable with the IEBC? Are you comfortable with the structures in place? And do you think they're ready to oversee the repeat election?
I think they're very ready to oversee the election.
You're comfortable?
We're comfortable. We should give them the space, let them run the election as we're comfortable. We'd have no issues with anybody.
It doesn't bother you that the Supreme Court said there were irregularities and illegalities. You do not think there's anything that should and can change?
And that is why we're going into Parliament tomorrow, where our team of lawyers is looking at what we need to change. Maybe we might need to change some laws in order that those irregularities, so long as they don't affect the total outcome or the total number of votes cast for each candidate, then a presidential election should not be annulled based on irregularities, paperwork. It's not about paperwork.
You see, I do not understand Jubilee now. I'm even more confused about them.
Why?
They declared President Uhuru Kenyatta the winner in the just concluded elections. Through them, his election has been nullified. Through them, through the very same people. It is through IEBC. The defense IEBC put in court was way below par. I mean, that the simple questions could not be answered in court by learned judges. Now, President Uhuru could not be found with any fault, although he was the third respondent.
Yes.
Even Chiloba.
But Chiloba wasn't...
even Chibukati.
Of course.
The entire IEBC.
Chiloba wasn't a respondent.
No, but all of them.
Was.
All of them. They're part of the process.
The point here is this. This election was nullified because of the irregularities that IEBC conducted. There must be a person who did them. There must be a person. So for me, it could be understandable that Jubilee could actually be joining us and saying, okay, we need a clear overhaul in the secretariat. Let's have right people so that these NASA people do not go to court if we win. Of course, they won't win. I mean, so that they won't go to court again and have our election nullified. But here...
No, they can go to court, but...
Simply because the change of the commission or the secretariat came from NASA, now they must oppose. You know, it's so bad in this country that simply because it's Raila who said this, we must oppose, even if it's to our benefit. It's too bad.
But he says they're comfortable with IEBC as
they complained initially. If you see, they were too comfortable then, even before the court, that IEBC was okay, and that is why they say, let's go to court. But look at what IEBC provided in court. Even they failed. Very simple thing, and just to open and see. Very simple mistakes.
Did you listen to the dissenting view of Njoki Ndungu on the service?
In court systems, we can only go to on the majority side. What the learned justice...
Even if the majority are wrong?
What? They're right. Because
no, even if the majority are wrong?
Four heads can't be wrong. Four heads can be wrong. You see, all you saw Njakindungu do and Jack Tunujua was kind of portraying some kind of defense. You know, you do a lot of research and do a 550-page ruling so that you can actually justify your reasons of dissenting with your other colleagues. But in the real sense, the clear one from the majority took the day, and that's why we are going to the elections. So you shouldn't be constitutional. It actually shouldn't be making a precedence. It's not an authority. It's not a jurisprudence.
All right.